No Filter by Sarah Frier. It might be a fitting time to review this, it's a scary time. I just reviewed An Ugly Truth by Shearer Frankel and Cecilia King, and boy was it ugly. All of a sudden, Facebook just decided one day to not work for 7 hours straight. Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, the whole thing. This was early October, and Frances Haugen, a former Facebook employee, blew the whistle on them and their algorithm, saying that it puts profits before people and privacy, only to take the internet by storm and testify before, what was it, the Senate? It's been quite a many of years? I don't know what the correct grammar is there. Since the Russian hacker election scandal, you gotta say, the monolith has been under a little bit of scrutiny. That can't help but increase in size. What are they to do? On top of that, they have book reviewers tearing apart the company's investigative journalism ticks. I suppose ticks can be a good thing if they're sucking bad blood dry, right? No Filter. No makeup, no eyelashes, fake eyelashes, no acrylic nails. Just a naked man in his 40s climbing up the corporate ladder. What the hell am I talking about? This is the inside story of Instagram. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because people shouldn't have to look this information up, it should just be mainstream knowledge, then make sure to smash that like button. In this review, I'm going to talk about the chapters, what we can learn from them, if anything. I had a feeling it wouldn't be much in terms of like advice. This book struck me as more of like a period in history, a long period of history class, than a sort of business lesson series, which is fine. So what can we learn? And if anything that I don't talk about in this video, I'm gonna put together in a different video of like different takeaways and stuff that I got from the book. Is this actually good? Is it biased? And if so, where? What should you maybe look out for or be politely warned of before giving it a read or listen? I'm also gonna go over some standout quotes, who I recommend this book to, and what books to maybe check out next. No Filter is a crack at the definitive story of Instagram. Hundreds of current and former employees and executives and others who built their career from the ground up around the app, and even competitors spoke upon it. Instagram's founders spoke with the author individually and together over a period of years in the process of this book, and Instagram has become a tool with which to measure cultural relevance, whether in school or an interspace community or the world. But the stories of its success led to the intersection between capitalism and ego. So it's sort of a celebrity making machine. It's like nothing else ever in the history of the thing that is everything in the world that is suspended within the universe. Is the universe bigger than the galaxy or the Milky Way, or is the Milky Way just farther away from us? I gotta check out another Neil deGrasse Tyson book and figure that out. But the first chapter is called Project Codename. This chapter was basically about how Instagram came to be as an idea. The one part of the book that I didn't like, I guess, was maybe the first half of this chapter, where the author seemed to put way more emphasis on status and quantities than I was maybe hoping she would. Later in the book, I came to a conclusion that maybe this was intentional. I mean, what else are you supposed to measure these things by? And so, who founded so-and-so company, who had so-and-so amount of employees and was bought by so-and-so larger company for so-and-so dollar amount, and so-and-so amount of its employees, most of which came from so-and-so university in so-and-so state, and they spent so-and-so amount of time figuring out what in so-and-so department worked best in so-and-so objective to do so-and-so. And she went on this whole story with like a bunch of different people and a bunch of different everything I just listed, which to her credit, I'm sure wasn't very easy to do. The next chapter, The Chaos of Success, is where I really started to sort of tilt my head. Frier started to focus on different things that happened in Instagram as it grew in a way that's kind of astonishing and refreshing in a way. She said that people saw filtered photos on the internet and they thought to themselves, how can I take a picture like that? Then people got the app and they started taking those photos and they started looking at their surroundings a little differently. New users found that things like street signs or flower bushes and cracks in wall paint all of a sudden were worth paying attention to. And you put a filter on it with a square format, it gives you a really nostalgic feeling, almost like it's some sort of a digital Polaroid platform. And that's just one example. I'll include other ones later on in the quotes section of the review. But Instagram, growing up, they sort of played nice with other tech giants, and I think that might have something to do with the fact that they grew their user base to 100 million people literally 10 times faster than Facebook did. What followed was called the surprise, where Facebook acquired Instagram. Facebook didn't typically do acquisitions like a company like Instagram, everything they bought, they allegedly stripped for parts, keeping the founders and technology but killing the product. Instagram wasn't sure whether they lost their jobs or came across some serious wealth. Serious might not be the right word to describe a billion-dollar acquisition. It's a company. 9 years later, Instagram is worth $100 billion. So, that's quite the flip. It's interesting what danger Facebook was facing at the time, because it's like, well, Google and Apple's have phones. Amazon is now a hardware tech company. They do way more than just a site that sells stuff. I don't even know what hardware Facebook has now. I think it's just Oculus and Portal. And I didn't even remember what Portal was called. They either had to go into hardware or make their app/site so irresistible that people spend more time on it, which it sounds like they did both. Otherwise, they had to worry about competing apps. And it doesn't matter how big you are, let's face it, you're always going to have some kind of competitors. I'm sure at some point MySpace didn't think it had any competition. Something in this chapter that did stand out was, imagine an alternate reality in which Microsoft buys Apple when Apple is still small. That would have been tremendous for Microsoft, and that's what Facebook got with Instagram. The following summer, employees basically spent waiting to find out their salaries/stocks and waiting on the government approval of the acquisition. And yes, they needed a little bit of a government inspection regarding whether it would be a monopoly, and if so, how big? What kind of R word would they need? The R word. I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with smegulation. Frier said after the merger, Facebook was like, and she has a lot of these similes and ideas throughout the book that put her own spin on it, but she didn't really put her opinion into things, which was really nice to see. Facebook was like a constant high school reunion, with everyone catching up with acquaintances on the life milestones that had happened since they last talked. Meanwhile, Instagram was like a constant first date, with everyone putting the best versions of their lives on display. It sounds a little more dangerous to self-esteem than you would think compared to Facebook. And by the way, when Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion, they had 13 people. That's not that many people at all. Employees could barely keep Instagram online when it was growing, because it was growing so fast. Believe it or not, in the earlier days of the site, they needed a second server to turn on and back up the app every time Justin Bieber posted something. And as a result of this, Bieber's manager, I think his manager, Scooter Braun, he threatened that Bieber would stop posting on Instagram if Instagram didn't start paying him per post, which of course didn't work. The recipes for success in Facebook's growth, sending notifications, clearing sign-up obstacles, understanding the data, and tinkering a little bit with the algorithm, that is what they truly needed. Facebook would just encourage growth like relentlessly above everything. And as Zuckerberg always says, moving fast and breaking things, but then apologizing if they didn't work out. The next chapter, called Domination, basically was about Evan Spiegel, the Snapchat founder, trolling Zuckerberg, and Zuckerberg feeling, I guess, threatened by him? Because, what if Facebook becomes the next AOL or Yahoo that no younger people use in the future? Snapchat's target audience was like age 13 to 24. Ultimately, I like to think Facebook kind of won, but like I said in my review of The Ugly Truth, I don't know how much longer Facebook has. As much of a, big ride this would have been for them. The next chapter, The New Celebrity, is where things got even more interesting in like a different direction. Because this is where Systrom took the opportunity to personally invite Hollywood to Instagram. Why is this interesting, Sam? It just sounds like another chapter. The reality is, you would think it's not very good for an actor for people to know who you are when you're a person and not some sort of a character on a big screen. But Ashton Kutcher was one of the first stars to acknowledge that even movie stars have to stop being so mysterious, because eventually casting positions would hinge upon your ability to bring large audiences to movies. Art and advertising, they just belong together. You can't live in an age where digital devices dominate the world and not merge them together. Before all this, the author recalled, as an example, Paris Hilton's way of turning a lifestyle into a brand in a pre-iPhone, pre-Instagram world. Instagram's growing pains, they changed over time, It was originally a way to make photography as easy as holding a pencil, a way to connect with others through the beauty of art. But now it's like, how Insta-worthy is a vacation in this location instead of this one? In all its Snapchat copycatting, Facebook was forced to learn over and over that just because Facebook made one world-changing product, that didn't mean that it could succeed in another, even if that product was a replica of another one. And Spiegel hated everything that made Facebook successful, which I think is another reason that Facebook is still so much bigger than Snapchat. He hated everything that made Facebook successful, from like product testing to product managers to optimizing the data. And the result, which is actually kind of unhealthy, was basically just a bunch of yes men employees. The author asked an important question. How much should technology companies work against human nature? Because the government doesn't seem to know. When the company's users choose to read hyperpartisan news, share conspiracy theories about vaccines causing autism, or racist tirades or manifestos of mass shooters, what was the tech companies like? What was their responsibility to curtail them? It's weird to think that the biggest social media platform owns the second biggest or the third biggest. But social media, at the end of the day, is a force that defines human nature. And I have to give it to Frier. This was really a very fairly balanced history of the company. Like, I didn't leave it thinking more or less of these companies, either of them. Their founders, their operations, their cultures, their values, or anything like that, really. But I do think that Instagram would be more successful if it wasn't a part of Facebook in some ways. Quotes: "You can either be a dressmaker or the CEO of Twitter, but you can't be both. Amazon's Jeff Bezos had never been in books, and Tesla's Elon Musk had never been in car manufacturing, but Instagram's filters had clearly been made by a photographer. If Facebook was about friendships and Twitter was about opinions, Instagram was about experiences. If we don't create the thing that kills Facebook, someone else will. People who don't take risks work for people who do. Becoming the next MySpace was the boogeyman of tech. Those living an Insta-worthy life become a source of entertainment and escapism for those who aren't." Direction 1. It's very simply put. This book I recommend for anyone who wants to learn more about the history of Instagram, which is more interesting than you'd probably think. Or at least I found it was. Direction 2. If you like this book and you can handle a little bit of political bias, you might want to check out An Ugly Truth by Shearer Frankel and Cecilia Kang. No Filter by Sarah Frier. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. And if there are any other similar books you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this one and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.